Call to order the meeting for May 13th, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Finance Director, roll call, please.
Mayor Kurzman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell,
Here.
Commissioner Bender,
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Here.
Commissioner Tigas.
Here. Okay, we're going to start off with proclamations and presentations. Police Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week. Finance Director, can you please read the proclamation?
Proclamation, Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the town of Sewall Point play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the town of Sewall Point. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the town of Sewall Point unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Dave Kurzman, the mayor of the town of Sewall Point, call upon all citizens of the town of Sewall Point and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as Police Week with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commiserating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and, in so doing, have established for themselves an invaluable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of the town of Sewall Point to observe Thursday, May 15th, as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Sewall Point to be affixed this May 13th, 2025.
Chief, would you like to accept this?
I'd actually like Lieutenant Wade and Officer Armani to please come forward and accept this. This is actually our most senior officer, Lieutenant Wade, and our most junior officer. It is just a couple of quick words. It is truly a blessing to work in a community that is so appreciative of their police force. And I just want to echo the sentiments of the town commission to our officers because, you know, every day that everyone comes out here and works together as a team to protect this community. And we're very grateful not just for our officers, but all of us here who work so hard together to engage in successes and protection of the community. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Please come around, Mayor. Mr. Daniels, get some photos here. Sorry. This is all right. We'll do a dance. Oh, we're missing one.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, now we're moving to public comment on non-agenda items. Mr. Hooker?
Hi, thank you for permitting us to be here today and to see you all again. I've been here a citizen for 17 years, and we live on Morgan Circle, 6 Morgan Circle. What I'd like to talk to you today about is keeping and for the same type of restrictions that we have for building, keeping our codes to date, and utilizing the codes that we have. And so I'm going to show a little illustration here about how the codes could be or could not be different. So to start with our code, I'm showing this picture here. It is our house. And what it is that we didn't have a pool on the house when we bought it 17 years ago. And so we wanted to have the pool. And John Adams says, well, you can have a pool out in front, but it has to be 50-foot setback. So therefore, we made the pool so it was 50 feet back from the mean high water level. And we had it actually looked at 3 times to make sure we weren't going away from the code while it was being built. Then I just wanted to show this picture. This picture is of 4 lots with us in this one picture in the center. And you can see that all of these lots, except the one with the fence in it, or whatever you want to call it, is actually, they all have the 50-foot setback. Now, we will kind of zero in on the wall, and the wall here is what is being now, or has been built next door to us. Now, why do we want a 50-foot setback? Well, the basic reason is if you live on the lake, you'd like to see the water. And if you're going to have structures out in front on the water, it's going to obscure your view. So that's why I think the code was basically made, and I guess maybe that's what you would believe too. But in this scenario, what's going to happen, what I understand is going to happen, is to this wall that's built at this time, which is 21 feet high, it's going to have side walls built, and the side walls are going to come back to maybe 22 feet or so, and it starts at 12 feet back from the mean high water level. And so what I'm suggesting is that this will be actually a, so to speak, a structure. And what we had to do to build the pool was a structure. And on that basis, we had to have retaining walls in our structure also to hold the water. This is putting in restriction walls to hold dirt. Now, that's no problem if it holds dirt, but it's the same as what we had to come back 50 feet. This is also the same type of scenario where it needs to come back 50 feet too to be able to be within our code.
Mr. Hooker, can Mrs. Hooker she has a card up here also. Does she want to finish explaining, or do you want to do it for her?
No, she is going to explain it also, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. If anybody wishes, they're welcome to come, and we can explain it a little more than you can in this short period of time. Thank you.
Yes.
It's hard to do it in a short time.
Thank you. Mrs. Hooker, come on, please.
Hi, my name is Alice Hooker, and I live at 6 Morgan Circle, and I've lived there for 17 years. And we moved to this beautiful town because it's a beautiful town. And we were so thrilled to be on the water and be able to have the wonderful views. Well, the lot next door, they're building this 21-foot wall, 10 feet from the mean high water line, and they're going to have it on the side too, and it's blocking our river view from the side. And also, it's against many of the codes. So I have given you sheets up there with the codes. I'm just going to say a few, and you can review them whenever. But one of the codes that I think is very important is that plans for changing any shoreline of a stream or other waterway within the town by filling, or plans for erection of bridges shall be submitted to the town commission for approval or disapproval. The town commission shall determine if the proposed improvements adversely affect adjacent properties. And then after that, a notice is required as provided in section 2-325, which is a variance for the people that live within 300 feet to come and say why they don't want that, because it would be varying to the laws. So, so many of the codes there, and I've highlighted them, and they say, for instance, where a property line borders on a bay, river, strait, or canal, the following shall be applied. Fence, hedge, or other enclosure heights shall be not more than 3 feet above the finished grade of the lot or bulkhead to the nearest setback line. And then, just a couple more I'll point out. If you have a swimming pool within 20, you can have it 25 feet back, no closer than that. And when you have it there, it can only be 18 inches above the natural grade of the property. And let's see, and also from their plans that they have, and they have plans already that's waiting to be permitted in docket online. I looked at them, and they're going to terrace. The first wall is 21 feet, then it goes to 25, then it goes to 31 feet high. And it's all this stuff that you do for seawalls, that material, and it's very ugly. So, and terracing can only be 3-foot high walls. And several places there, and I'll let you look at it, and I'm kind of done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I'd like to pull from the consent agenda the minutes from April 8th. Again, I just want to correct them. This way here. I
Point
see-
of order. I believe,
I see we're going to have that.
but I think what he's asking is the agenda, is there anything you want to add to the agenda? Then he'll get to the consent agenda.
Okay, no, I don't want to add anything.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. What's that? Oh, no, these were both non-agenda right here. Oh, no, that's coming up later on. That's part of, let me see, I'm sorry.
There's another one coming in.
Mr. Weiner, is your comment non-agenda or is it agenda? Yes.
3A, I believe.
That's agenda. Okay, yes. Yes. And Mike, is this agenda or non-agenda? Okay. So we're going to continue on then. So we're going to go back to any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Being none, do we have an approval for the agenda? Vote.
Well, that's on the consent.
Yeah,
He's trying to approve the agenda, so.
yes.
Did somebody make a motion? I thought I heard it.
Do we making Commissioner
okay.
Titicus made a motion.
Okay,
Do we
I'll
have a-
second.
and you made a second?
I did.
Apparently somebody has a non-agenda item, public comment.
I didn't see it.
That's what Mariah said.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mona, I thought this was on the agenda. My apologies. Mona Leonard, please come on up. I am so sorry.
Mona Leonard, One Heritage Way. Many residents in town are very concerned about our town's management of events spanning over several years. That primarily revolved around the septic to sewer S to S conversions, plans, and grants to achieve the government's wishes to borrow and spend more money. We showed our unhappiness with lack of true scientific research related to our peninsula and its effects on both the St. Lucie River and the Indian River Lagoon. The residents of Sewell's Point are extremely environmentally conscious, intelligent people. We were all in if the town could show us sewers that deep well inject our waste would be environmentally better than our own self-contained systems. So the Stewart engineering firm Giffords Webster was paid $75,000 of our tax money to perform a study. That study's results were presented to the Town Commission, where GW gave each commissioner a binder of over 300 pages of information. Our expensive town engineer was then given the task by our commission of condensing the study down so all the stupid people in town could understand it. Hint, there aren't any stupid people. Our town engineer tasked with the editing has publicly lied about the sewers not being mandatory. This is confirmed by state statute and Martin County utilities. That original 300-page study was never seen again. The binders GW brought with them were collected that night during the night of their presentation, and the residents were never given the right to see the original study. Years of FOIA requests for the study have been met with the same 30-page report from Joe Capra. Why? What does the commission or the town manager have to hide? If the town manager doesn't let the town clerk do her job and respond to and fulfill FOIA requests, is he really doing his job? After waiting months to receive PRR responses on April 25th, while the town clerk was suspended without pay, someone in our town government sent a FOIA response from the clerk's Sewell's Point email account. April Staunchus did not have access to that email account while she was suspended. What sort of cover-up is going on here? Was TC April Staunchus fired because she was sharing the truth with residents? Her job, by the way? And not because she walked through the wrong door? And didn't April receive a commendation from T.M. Daniels for completing her master municipal clerk education? Was the Giffords Webster report going to reveal the truth about our environment, showing there's no science behind S to S? Is this why April had to file 2 police reports against the town during her unprofessional and very questionable termination? April would have vested for retirement, by the way, less than 3 weeks after her petty firing. Thank you.
Okay.
I think you have a motion on the floor
Yes.
in reference to accepting the agenda.
Okay, and we have a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Burrell?
No.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Tidigas?
Yes.
Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. On to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Didn't you just do that?
That was.
No, we approved the agenda.
Okay.
I think the vice mayor had wanted to poll.
I wanted to pull the April
Okay,
8th.
sorry.
But
Oh.
that looks like it's not under the consent agenda. It looks like it's under old business.
You know, the financials are under consent.
So I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Tidigas?
Yes.
Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell?
No.
Motion passes.
Okay. Old business, approval of town commission regular meeting minutes for April 11th, 2025.
April 8th.
Excuse me?
April 8th.
April.
April 8th. I'm sorry. Yes, April 8th, 2025. Thank you.
No problem.
Vice Mayor.
The issue I have with these minutes is that they're, I know they're verbatim, I know that they're supposed to be just pretty close to what you're saying, but after I received the email that said there was something wrong with them, I listened to this, the video, I don't know how many times, and what's on the minutes is different than what was actually said. So I just want to correct that. What was said was actually, when I asked the question about the percentage of how much for the grants, the answer that I got actually was, I don't have them off the top, and then the financial director was cut off. I just want that put in, because that's not what it says right now. I mean, it's not changing, other than since it's been brought to my attention, I want to make it correct.
Council, can we do that?
If there is an inaccuracy in the minutes, then you can correct it. So it may not be a direct quote, but because the sentence was cut off, you'd probably want to make sure that the language used in the minutes portrays what the sentiment was. So if it's that, I understand there was half a statement that seemed like I don't have that in front of me or on the top of my head, maybe. So maybe just having it reflect in the minutes that they said, I don't know. You know, if you want to make that amendment to the minutes, and the commission agrees, then the point of the minutes is that they accurately reflect what happened at the meeting, not necessarily verbatim, but, you know, since you all do summary minutes, that it's.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, they haven't been approved yet, correct? So we can just alter them as needed. I would make a motion to approve the Town Commission regular meeting minutes for April 8th, 2025, with that sentence worded the way to Commissioner or Vice Mayor Burrell's liking.
I'd second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Pinder?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Okay, now we go into discussion. Town manager contract violation. Commissioner Titicus.
Yes, I asked that this be put on the agenda because, as most of you know, Mr. Daniels has applied for another job, and he did not properly notify the town. I'd just like to pass out a timeline. And they all go to the audience too. I'm gonna need a copy. Oh, never mind. No, I didn't. Oh, wait a minute, no, I do have one. Okay. I had requested that, I'd like to make a couple comments, first of all. I'd requested that Mr. Daniels put this on the agenda and that it be listed as breach of contract. He changed the wording to contract violation, and when I pointed this out to him the other day, anyway, we had a discussion about it. The other thing that I would like to point out is that words do matter. The difference between violation and breach is violation doesn't carry any penalties, whereas breach does. So the timeline which I've passed out, this is the second time that Mr. Daniels has applied for another job and has not notified the commission as per his contract. His contract in paragraph 2G calls for, in the event the town manager makes formal application for full-time employment elsewhere while serving as town manager, he shall be required to provide written notice to the town commission simultaneously with such application. And Mr. Daniels denied that he is aware of this. However, at the March 10th meeting, to discuss the special meeting called by Mayor Kurzman to discuss the Mr. Daniels contract, Commissioner Mayfield stated that this should have been brought to our attention earlier. That's what the contract says. And that can be found in the audio recording at 15 minutes and 25 seconds. She further stated we were supposed to be notified in writing per the contract. There may have been a problem there, and that was the audio recording at 17 minutes and 58 seconds. Also, March 20th, I sent out an email recap of the meeting held on March 10th and 18th, and I stated the following, that Mr. Commissioner Mayfield said that by interviewing another municipality, action was taken that should have been brought to the commission's attention in writing. Mr. Daniels emailed me the following on April 10th, and he said, the next time you write about me in your blog, please have the common courtesy of checking with me to ensure that you write is correct. I responded the same day, and I asked him what was not correct. I received no response. Then on April 21st, when I met with Mr. Daniels before the meeting, we discussed the email of April 10th. I asked him what the error was, and we discussed the fact that he breached his contract by not notifying the commission. He indicated it was a mistake and he wasn't aware of the provision in his contract. So let's assume he wasn't aware of the provision in his contract. That's a buy. However, by Commissioner Mayfield bringing it up and by me bringing it up, he became aware. March 27th, Palm Beach County posted a job opening for a county administrator, and Mr. Daniels was listed on the website as having applied. His application cover letter is not dated. The job postings closed at 5 p.m. on April 28th. Friday, May 2nd, Mr. Torsivia, at 3:52 p.m., called me while I was driving to Charlotte, while I was in the Asheville area, and to tell me that a commissioner was calling for a special meeting for Wednesday, May 7th, to discuss Mr. Daniels applying for another job without notifying the commission. It's interesting, and I'm not a big believer in coincidences, but that same day on May 2nd at 4:02, Mr. Daniels notified the commissioners that he had applied for a job opening in Palm Beach County, and he said, quote unquote, I'm giving notification. I applied this week for a position of county administrator for Palm Beach County, and I've requested to withdraw my application. I was tempted by the salary of over $400,000, but I'm happier here. Well, yesterday, May 12th, the Palm Beach County website listed the applicants after the first cut. Mr. Daniels is still listed as an applicant. A public records request was responded to on this date by Palm Beach County, and it indicated that Mr. Daniels was still an active candidate and had not withdrawn from consideration. And I have here the, you can go to the Palm Beach County website and take a look at it. So here are the facts. Mr. Daniels has breached his contract twice within a 90-day period of time. He was apprised of this fact that his contract contained a notification clause by Commissioners Mayfield on March 10th and by me on April. Mr. Daniels' contract is straightforward and states that he shall be required to provide written notice to the Town Commission simultaneously with such application. There's no ambiguity. This was not done in either case. He notified the commission after his job application to other municipalities were discovered. It was not simultaneous. And although he has stated that he requested to withdraw his application, and although Palm Beach County has culled the list, he is still listed as an applicant. So I have some questions. Assume Mr. Daniels wasn't aware of the provision the first time. Assume it was an honest mistake. What about the second time? If so, it's disrespectful to this commission and town. If not, why not? Is it a lack of attention to detail? I mean, he certainly heard what Commissioner Mayfield had to say, he heard what I had to say. And on both occasions, he cited the reasons for leaving was for higher compensation. One must assume that he will pursue this goal. And what are the options, and I'm asking our attorney, open to the commission regarding this breach of contract? And I'll tell you that in the contract, there is a list of what are fireable offenses. This is not a fireable offense. But would you mind telling me, Counselor?
Sure. So you all have options. You can give Mr. Daniels a verbal reprimand. You can give some sort of written discipline. You can give him notice of firing without cause. That does have payment of a severance that comes along with it. So you can say, give him a warning. You know, you have several options.
I do have 3 public comments on this. I'd like the people to come up. All right, Mike Flau.
Good evening, Mike Flaw, resident of Sewell's Point, cumulatively 30 years. I'm not sure if this is relevant, so I apologize, I'll be super fast. I just wanted to comment on things I've observed that maybe everyone's not privy to. I have a very, very small amount of work with the town that I do, and in such, I'm called for meetings occasionally with the town manager and residents. And again, not knowing the subject matter tonight, I was just wanted to comment on things I've observed. When residents call for a meeting, it's never to say what a beautiful day it is and they just would like to chat. So it's often heated, it's often unpleasant when the town manager and myself and maybe an engineer or contractor needs to go. And what I witnessed is the town manager standing in the scorching sun, listening, patiently, compassionately, and professionally to the complaints of the citizens. And when that's over and then the residents walk back inside, we're generally left in a huddle of manager, myself, and maybe a couple other contractors. And generally, Bob's reaction is, what can we do to accommodate these folks? So he seems very solution-driven to me. Again, I just want to say something nice, but because I feel like he's doing a great job given the circumstances, what his job is, which I wouldn't take for anything. But nonetheless, I don't know if it's relevant to this evening's conversation. Just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Jackie Thurlow-Lipich.
Hello, Honorable Commission. My name's Jackie Thurlow-Lippish. I live at 18 Riverview Drive in South Sewell's Point, and I did serve on this commission between 2008 and 2016, and every time I'm here, it's like being home. Thank you so much for your service. I was under the impression that I was speaking in the beginning, but I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to speak about 2 things. And please consider these 2 things separate items, or not separate items, but separate ideas. So number 1, I just want to say that I support our town manager, that he's been a complete gentleman to me and my family in all circumstances. It's always hard. It's hard. We all know that. We make mistakes. The most important thing is to try to be a family and to try to stay together and to try to make it work. That's my opinion. Number 2, I have viewed the property on Morgan Circle, and I think that is a train wreck. I think it's a train wreck that the trees were removed without a permit, and I've taken pictures earlier. There were native trees on that piece of property, and also the shoreline that cannot be correct. And if FDEP has said that that is correct, I would ask the commission to please have them come here and take a closer look to see that it lines up with the rest of the properties along South Sewell's Point. I mean, I know many of you will have the chance to see it. That is the poster child of what should not be done to our beautiful town. One of my pride things that I did when I was sitting where you are is I tried my darndest to have the bluff ordinance. It didn't all work, but we got vegetation in front of retaining walls. I did a lot of research at that time. I truly believe that that retaining wall or that seawall, whatever it may qualify to be, is a little bit too close to the water. Thank you so much for keeping the town of Sewell's Point beautiful and a family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Weiner.
Don Weiner, 49-year resident, former mayor, former commissioner. Not on the agenda item, but on what was just commented. In 1989 or 1998 or 99, Bud and Margie Jordan had a similar situation up in Castle Hill. Jackie remembers. There was this giant wall put up obstructing their view on the water from one side to the other. We passed an ordinance that said you can't do that anymore. So I don't know where that ordinance is or what happened to it, but basically you can't construct a wall that obstructs the view of the neighbor. All right, back to my subject at hand. I don't understand, first of all, why this comes to the commission. There is a upcoming discussion, I understand, on the town manager's contract. That's the appropriate time to discuss this. Secondly, the commission has the power to terminate employee at any time, but there is nothing in his contract that calls for anything, any punitive action in any way, shape, or form based on non-compliance with the contract. In terms of what he did looking for a job, you're paying a man a fraction of what is the going rate is for town managers. It's not rocket science to assume he's going to go looking for a job. He doesn't need to let you know. You just, common sense will tell you he's a smart man, he's going to do it. Now, on one other part of this, I hired the first town manager. Prior to that time, the mayor had the responsibility for everything in the town. I had a year of it, and I said, that's it, no more. We hired our first town manager. Since that time, I have followed, observed, listened to, worked with every town manager since. Bob is by far, I don't mean a little bit, by far the best town manager this town has had. Is he perfect? Which of you are? He's not perfect, but he's the best town manager we've had in administration, in dealing with the residents, everything. If he missed a line or just chose to ignore a line in his contract, so what? You put it aside and you say, we've got a great town manager, you work with him, hopefully you'll give him the raise he deserves before he leaves, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Don. Any discussion?
Well,
Vice Mayor.
My question is, there's this big thing that April got let go because of insubordination. And that's an employee that got let go for that. What is this? I mean, the town manager dissed us twice. I don't know what you consider insubordination, but that seems to me the top of the list. One of the other issues is, I know that everybody out there knows that they like that Bob Daniels, and I like Bob. But I don't like when he doesn't return my calls. Okay, I don't like that at all. And when I speak to people, I hear, well, 5 of my friends say that they called and he never returns calls. But he doesn't even return my calls. Okay, so why would he return yours? I get that. There is a lot of things. I've asked questions, for instance, about waste management. Now, I've been harping on waste management contract that the county has been negotiating for us, and we should be negotiating our own contract with waste management. The county should not, because that's an automatic 5% that they get, without even us blinking an eye. We have nothing to say about it. I haven't gotten a word. It's been over a year. I haven't gotten anything. Okay, so, yeah, again, I don't know what people expect of a town manager, but I like to work with a town manager, but I like to work. I don't need for a town manager to, well, I'll call you back, and never calls me back. I mean, and I shouldn't say never, there are times he does, but most times he does not call me back. Now, maybe that's a personal thing, but to me, if you're gonna let people go for not listening to you, well, what's that all about? I mean, I ask for, you've asked for things, I mean, I'm sure people on this commission have asked for things, and maybe they haven't gotten them. I know people out there have asked for things, and they probably haven't gotten them, they just don't want to speak up. And that's one of the issues. I mean, people don't speak up. They leave it up to us as the commissioners to bear the burden of what happens here. Okay? I could go on about other issues, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I will speak in defense of the town manager. There are many times I call too, and I don't get a call right back. So I take a ride here, and I come in, and I see he's doing 10 different things. There's 2, 3 people waiting to speak with him. We have 2 of the biggest projects that ever happened in this town going on at the same time, plus water mains. And we also have $20 million plus of grants that we're putting together that we've gotten a lot of the money already. And these are things that are very important that the town manager needs to be hands-on. I know the phone sometimes goes nonstop when I'm in here. And, you know, sometimes when I can't reach him, I do take a ride here, and I'll say, Bob. And he'll say, I'm sorry, I forgot. And I could see there's a lot going on. We have a very small office over there. In there, the amount of employees you have, Bob, you have currently a finance manager, you have a police chief, you have a building inspector, and you have the assistants to the building inspector, and then you have a police force. That is our current, where we stand right now with our employees. And it's not a country club. Whenever I'm in there, everybody is working. It's pretty much nonstop. I see this town manager all over town. There are people that call him up. He goes to homes. People have problems here, whoever it might be, whether he agrees with that person or not, he tries to make things genuinely comfortable for that particular resident. He doesn't avoid people. I've seen him go to the homes. I've seen him when there was a flooded property that he went in with his shoes, that going in with his bare feet into mud and water, ruining his pair of shoes. That's dedication, and I've seen nothing but dedication. I don't agree with anybody that's ever worked here 100%. And what I do, I go in, and as soon as I see an agenda, if I have a problem, I talk. And this goes back, even when I first became a commissioner, when it was Pam. If I had a problem with Pam, I never went up on the stage, and it was never a gotcha. And I didn't try and show her up. I would meet with her in the office, and it would be almost a week before the agenda comes out, 5 days before the agenda, and I say, Pam, I don't agree with this. Why and we'd go back and forth. But, I'm part of a commission. I didn't ever downplay a manager. I never did that, no matter who it was, whether it was an interim manager, permanent manager. You were going to kind of build the confidence of that person, because the town needs them, we need them. They're the ones, and you can't micromanage a manager. We hired a manager to manage everybody from the police chief to the building inspector, town clerk, whoever it is. decisions I may or may not agree with a lot of times, but that's his decision. And that's what he was hired for. Just like I own my own business. I have people, I hire them to be in charge of other people. If that's their decision, I'm okay with that. That's what they're hired for. It's not for me to say, you did this wrong, and then in the middle of a meeting show up. I would never do that. To me, that is a wrong thing to do. This is a human being that puts in a ton of hours. He works very hard. He's by far the lowest paid town manager. Why wouldn't you want to be keeping an eye open? And that goes along all the way from the Treasure Coast all the way through South Florida. Of any place that has 1,000 homes or more, that's us. And when you go along the coastline, Bob, you're the lowest paid. Congratulations. We also have the lowest paid police force amongst it. I think we're always in the top 2 or 3, but sometimes we're actually the lowest. And then what happens? We train our police. And then what happens? They finally get it, they come along, and then they're going to the next place. Guess what? Stewart gave me $25,000 more. The sheriff's department just paid me $30,000 more. And we had some great officers that we lost, and it's really sad to see. We are extremely frugal with our budget. When you take out the fire budget, other towns, the fire budget is calculated separately. In Sewell's Point, it's included. So it's very deceptive when you look at it. We by far have the lowest taxes of any place, absolutely in Martin County, probably Palm Beach County. And like I say, this man works like a dog. I've seen him here as late as 10, 11 o'clock at night. I've seen him here as early as 7 in the morning when I'm on my way to Fort Lauderdale. And that's dedication and somebody that cares. And to lose this type of person would be a damn sin. And, I'm sick of seeing him getting micromanaged, and I don't like to hear the gotchas. If somebody has something to say to him, we have plenty of time before a meeting and say, Bob, I have a problem with this. And give him, even if he doesn't make it by the next meeting, give him to the next meeting. Because there are times I ask for things and I didn't get an immediate response, but I'm patient. He's a human being, and I think there's a lot on his plate. And personally, if I was retired and I had a chance to take this job, there's not enough money in the world for me to take that job because of what I see him have to go through. And I give Bob a lot of credit. The worst thing I could do is give him a verbal warning. Bob, please don't do it again without notifying us simultaneously. That's as far as I would go. I wouldn't go any further. This man has never done anything underhanded or I think intentionally to hurt somebody. And I'm going to let Commissioner Mayfield speak. I get very emotional on this. Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes. As for Commissioner Tivikis, the timeline, I remember saying what I said. I remember saying that. And then if I'm remembering correctly, which could be wrong, but it doesn't really change the meat of what I'm saying, I thought I heard, because I sit right next to him, and I heard him say later, but it's not in my contract or something like that. And I thought we just said it was. I said, hopefully he'll check on his own. Clearly he did not, as he applied again. In that regard, it's a mistake, and it should never happen again. And he said it won't, and I believe it won't. But it also makes me believe that somehow he missed it, made a mistake, didn't think it was in there, and I'm okay with that. I believe it won't happen. I think he does a great job, and the town is lucky to have him. He is capable, he is good, and he has more town manager experience than any of us up here. And as we have these conversations, and I'll give my husband a little shout out, he manages a lot of people, and he always says, criticize in private, praise in public. And I think that's a great saying, and I think that brings out the best in anybody you're working with. And I tend to agree with the comment that save these things for the evaluation, unless it's something major that's applying for elsewhere. Like I said, there's room for improvement. I believe he's going to do it, but I don't blame him for applying elsewhere. So even the act is not egregious. It doesn't affect, I still believe he operates in the best interests of Sewell's Point. And that is really my main concern as a commissioner is he doing the best job for Sewell's Point? And I believe he is. So these are the kind of things that we take up in the evaluations. That's we did our old mayor did a great job at do the evaluations so that we can put it down, it's on record, and then we're able to come up with the best plan for him. But I would just as soon move on from this topic unless you have a certain motion you want to make or something that you're trying to get to. Is my opinion.
Always, but I didn't press my buttons.
Commissioner Titicus.
Yeah, first of all, no one is questioning Mr. Daniels' work ethic or his dedication to the job. What I question is the fact that we have a written document between the town and the manager, and that document calls for certain things to happen. They did not happen. And I'll buy the first time it was a mistake. You know, when I talked with Mr. Daniels, he said, I thought I had it taken out of the contract, and it wasn't. It was moved from one section, a fireable offense, to a non-fireable offense. And I don't blame anybody looking for another job. I kind of look at our town as you're going to get people in two places. You're going to get them on the way up or on the way down. And your comment, Mayor, in terms of, you know, we're not at the top of the pay scale, we're never going to be at the top of the pay scale. However, you know, we should bring people in, we should spend the time to help train them, and then expect them to move on and improve themselves. Don't have a problem with that at all. What I do have a problem with is when somebody doesn't live up to what they committed to. And to me, this is a matter of trust. At this stage of the game, my trust in the town manager and what the town manager says has been violated. And I have a hard time getting over that. You know, if you were to not be honest and truthful with me on several occasions, I'd have a hard time with that too. That's what this is about. I'm not looking to fire the town manager. I'm interested in hearing what my colleagues have to say about it, and what I've heard is if I follow Mr. Weiner, oh well, so what? It's in a contract. Doesn't make any difference. Well, you know, if we all operated in that respect, we would not have a society that turns around and functions adequately or properly. So, yeah, I would make a motion. I would make a motion that Mr. Daniels be admonished for not notifying, you know, not notifying the council or the commission as per the contract.
I would just say a verbal warning would be suffice, in my opinion, on that. And that's as far as it should go. And the other thing is, I just have a hard, like I say, he's by far the best manager I've worked with as long as I've been up here. Nobody even comes close to what he's produced, and we're not going to duplicate that. This is a man I want to see here for another 10 years. And because when you take, first of all, when you...
There's a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
I had pressed my button before, so I'll wait till there's a second if there is one.
Okay. And I would go even one step further. I mean, if we would say, in other words, let's bring him up, I'm not saying the highest paid town, I'm not even in the middle, but, you know, maybe give him a bump so he's the lowest paid, but not by too far the lowest paid. And that's what you're up against right now, I think. It's sort of like you want to make somebody feel wanted at the same time. And, you know, when you have a salary, you like to have something that's competitive, at least closer. You can't be a mile away. That's what it is right now. And like everybody else, we all have bills to pay. But if for some reason, if he wound up leaving us, and this is what's going to happen, we're going to go through the whole thing. It's going to be another $30,000 for a manager's search. We're going to see a lot of the same applicants that you see with these places going in and out. And it just, the only thing that changes the name, but then you go out and you find out, when I made the call in the last batch that we had, the last few batches, you have no idea what that is.
Mayor, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay, the motion? Yes,
I didn't, Commissioner Titicus made a motion. That was from before he made a motion.
Buttons on.
yeah. But I was just speaking, that's why.
That's
Yeah.
on your button.
I'll wait till you make the motion, I know.
Motion's already made.
Commissioner Brill, go ahead, I'm sorry. Motion made.
The last comment I'm going to make about it is really simple. He knew what he was getting into pay-wise. He knew what the progression was. Just like the police department, they all know what the progression is. This is what we said as a commission, and this is what we stick with. I mean, unfortunately, you may think it's the bottom of the list, but it probably isn't, okay? However, he knew what he was getting into. He knew we are a small town, and we can't afford a lot of money. And that's just the way it is.
Okay, we have a
So I guess
motion.
the motion dies. There's been no second. Okay. So then let's move on.
Okay. Next on their discussion again, schedule workshop regarding the town manager's contract. Commissioner Titkus.
Yeah, at the March 18th meeting, Commissioner Fender reminded us that we had some open business. And at the March 8th meeting, I had indicated that the time to discuss Mr. Daniels' contract was probably in the latter part of June or the early part of July. And so I think we need to schedule a workshop meeting at a convenient time for the residents so that they can come and weigh in. And then, we figure out where we go with Mr. Daniels' contract. So I'm suggesting that we schedule a workshop meeting sometime in the latter part of June or early part of July.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, as I'm looking at that, and I think, last time, I'm always open for a good workshop. I was looking over the contract since it was in our agenda. And workshop implies that there's not a lot in the contract that I think would need changing beyond, when it's evaluation time and anniversary time, primarily it's the salary. That's really the sticking point that it seems to be. So I'm not saying I wouldn't be open to it, but I don't see that there's a lot to discuss in terms of the contract. And that's what I would be if you do have a lot, I'm open to that, but I don't, like I said, what I said with my criticize, I don't want to have a workshop where we critique publicly all the perceived flaws and real flaws of our staff or town manager. So I'm open to contract discussion if that's what you mean.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
That's what it says.
So what are you looking at in do you think there's enough to warrant a full separate workshop?
May I respond?
Yes, you may.
If you remember correctly, on the 8th of March, the town manager presented
Yes.
his wish list,
Yes.
which was about 5 or 6 items.
I
So-
remember primarily the salary personally.
Yeah, well, there was more in it than the salary.
I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember that as being as meaty as maybe, but
So,
whatever you guys want to do.
and then at that same meeting on March 8th, I think Commissioner Burrell brought up the fact that this was such short notice and that the town's residents did not have an opportunity to weigh in pro or con as to how they felt or what the elements should be. And so, I'm suggesting that we have a workshop and we do it at a convenient time so that it's not at dinner time where you don't have, people can't make it.
No, Commissioner Fender, I'm sorry.
No, not a problem. So, like Commissioner Mayfield, I'm always up for a good workshop. But I think we find ourselves here where we are now with both items, agenda item A and B, is that aside from the persnickety contract administrivia, you've got an employee who is looking for another job because he needs a pay raise. I'm data-driven, and so I think enough time has passed now where residents have had a chance to come to me and tell me what they would like to see happen or what they think an adequate pay amount might be. And they've also had the opportunity to come to me and oppose that. So I'm not getting, even in this meeting today, I haven't heard a lot of negative. I've only heard some positive. So I'm not sure that a whole workshop is required to do exactly what we already have. And I think you find yourself here today with a second job opportunity search because you didn't move on the first opportunity to revise the contract. So I assumed, because I was going with allowing input, that we would wait until contract renewal time, but maybe we're not waiting for that. I've already seen the contract changes. I can modify them, I can approve them or disapprove them, but I'm not sure it requires a workshop. I think this is an administrative task that decides what it's going to take for us as a commission to keep a town manager we support or we don't support. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on this. I'll obviously sit through a workshop, but I'd just as soon approve a contract at this point. And we've waited long enough now to now get a second job opportunity to pass us by. So that's just kind of where I stand on this. As an employer of other employees, by the way, I like to keep my employees, and if we need to incent them, I think we should.
I'd rather take care of it during a regular meeting. I'm not a workshop fan. Unless it's something like we had before with the speeding and stuff, I could appreciate it there, because if we could do 2-3 hours of that. So that would be an exception, but I think it's going to be on the agenda. If it means something to somebody, they will attend. And, right now, you have a nice turnout, more than we usually see, and people were able to make it. I think we have pleased significant notice. Commissioner Mayfield.
I was going to ask the attorney, and I know she's very knowledgeable, but I know that Glenn has been here before. When is your anniversary is October?
August 8th.
August 8th. I mean, that's going to come up soon. I mean, it's already almost June, and so it all might come more organically when we do the evaluation, because I do like that evaluation process. So that would be what I would have my sights on, is do the evaluations, give it, and then we look at them all and act accordingly. But that would be and then take input in the meantime, and the residents can come to those meetings, and because it's usually on the agenda, the evaluation. So it just seems like an organic way to address this, and then everything will get considered then. Since August is like 3 months away. 2 months, May, June, July, August.
Yeah, I was just
Commissioner
going to
Fender.
add to that, and you almost said it for me. This isn't going to happen today, but there's still plenty of time for resident input until the date, and I like the idea of rushing the evaluation and then using that as data input to the contract modification.
I could agree with that also. Does somebody want to make a motion of some sort?
I don't think we need one, do
I
we?
think there's a motion
Yeah.
required.
Nope, okay. We'll move on then. Any more comment? Okay. Next. Septic to sewer update. Town manager?
Thank you. I have Joe's here as well, but as I think everybody's aware of, we finished part one of our septic to sewer conversions, which primarily covered the area from Ocean down to Pineapple. Phase or part two of the project is slated to start in June, which will cover the rest of the way down to High Point, the Archipelago District, and the Island Road area. It'll probably happen in 2 phases because they have to do a special installation with the bridges for Island Road and also the Archipelago District. So, Joe, have I covered that sufficiently, or is there anything you want to add?
No, that's sufficient.
So primarily, it's a 6-month project, so we're looking at, if we start in the middle of June, we, will end, towards the holiday section of December. Could also, with the holidays, it could move into the first week in January. But as you know, then there's all the paperwork with Martin County Utilities, which I wasn't aware of until we did the first part. and just getting the bill of sale and getting them to accept and test and do all the things they had to do before they took ownership of the line. So, but I know a lot of people have been asking. I get probably calls, 1 or 2 a day, of people that have a failed system and they have to pump. Obviously, failed systems don't help anybody, no matter where you are in the town, because you're going to have leakage. So I think it's just important that we try to move forward. I know the numbers on septic to sewer were, have roughly, by the time we finish part 2, we'll have roughly $6 million left. So, right now the county isn't giving any approval for the grinder system, so that leaves you with doing the gravity system. And, I've been talking with Joe, about coming up with some type of idea, how much coverage can we get with the gravity system for $6 million. But when I start talking to residents about it, they don't like the idea of having lift stations. And I believe it was 5 or 6 lift stations is what the county was calling for in the design of what would be called Part 3, which is the remainder of South Sewell's Point. So that's kind of our update. You'll hear more about it as we get into the capital projects. I don't know if you would want to go to the Phase 3. I know it's on here and Joe's here. If you don't mind skipping over the driveway requirements right now, we can go to that. It's up to you, Mayor.
Yes, but we have 2 questions. I see Commissioner Mayfield, then the Vice Mayor.
Yes, just the septic to sewer question about, phase 1 and 2. I think that's excellent. I'm glad those are getting done. The phase 3, you said there's $6 million left. I assume we're still doing our best to get grants to be able to cover all the areas with gravity or vacuum or whatever the engineers and county decides. Is that correct? And then if that doesn't
Yes.
happen, we go from there and decide the future from there, correct?
Yes. Unfortunately, some of the feedback that we got with the last grant for septic to sewer was the fact that we don't have a mandatory hookup. And, we do, which was part of the restrictions that we had. There are some areas that have a mandatory hookup when you sell your house, and the new owner, has to take over, and connect to the sewer, or if there's a deed change. There's a couple other things, but I'm not sure if that would put us into a better light with the granting agencies. And there are different types of grants out there, so that's basically what we're looking for right now.
Vice Mayor.
Gravity system require assessment. Isn't that right? We kept preaching that we're not going to assess anybody. We're not going to assess anybody. We're not going to assess anybody. And here we are talking about mandatory hookup and possible assessment.
No, I was not saying, I need to get on the record there. I just basically said, once we run out of the money that the grant that we have,
Well, the 6
we would
million.
go from,
The
yeah,
6 million. Once you
Yeah.
run out of it, what are you going to do?
we would go from there. There's no mandatory assessment discussion. I didn't say, I know where you guys stand, like, everybody knows, so don't
No,
try to
no,
say
no.
that I'm,
No, we'll see. We'll see what the county has to say.
well, that's the county, that's not me.
Well, they're the ones who are putting the systems in. So
But we're far down on that
they're the
list,
ones who are going to mandate whether we hook up or not. believe me.
right? But I think that's a little bit off, if I'm,
Okay.
where we are on that list.
Commissioner Titicus.
I have a question for the town manager, and are we going to have an opportunity to review the grant application before it's submitted?
Yes.
Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is, I would point your attention that in 2023, House Bill and Senate Bill 1373 basically dealt with the Indian River, the waterways in Florida, in which the Indian River Lagoon was one of them, and also the St. Lucie estuary. And that House bill, first of all, there is no empirical evidence that we're damaging the waterway. And that House bill called for the fact that there were other ways of dealing with this rather than if you don't have a sewer system. And as I've urged this commission when I stood where Joe is, to really take a hard look at that as opposed to a mandatory hookup. And we do have information, first of all, it's a state law that you hook up, that if your system dies and there's a sewer system in front of your house, you have to hook up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will not get a permit for a septic system. That's number one. Number two is that I had put in a public records request and requested the letter that supposedly this town was given an exception to hooking up, a mandatory hookup. And there was no letter that could be found in the town files. I spoke with Mr. Capra, and also at that time, Mrs. Stonechis had requested that he provide the letter if it was in his files. He couldn't come up with the letter. So I suggested to Mrs. Stonechis that she write to the town or the county, and she wrote to Mr. Amersham, and Mr. Amersham responded that there is no letter to that effect, and that should a septic system fail according to state law, the individual, if there's sewer available, will have to hook up to it. No ifs, ands, or buts. There are no buys. And so the reality, when you sit here and you say there is no mandatory hookup, that's that's hogwash, because there is a mandatory hookup.
Town Manager.
Yeah, just to clarify the issue, we have always said that if there's a sewer line in front of your house and your septic tank failed, that's the time you would have to connect. There's never, at least as long as I've been here, there's never been a change to that policy. That's, obviously that's what the health department will tell you. You can go talk to Nick down there, and that's been their policy all along. And I talked to him like the first week I started here, almost 3 years ago. So, saying now that it was never mentioned, I have to disagree with you respectfully, that was mentioned, and as we talk to people, and we've had the different meetings about sewers and everything else, it's always been mentioned that if your septic tank fails, and you have a sewer line in front of your house, at that time you'll have to connect.
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield.
The term assessment, I think, at least when I'm speaking of it, I'm speaking of the kind that goes on your property tax bill. When you're hooking up on your own, you're not putting that on. You can go pay cash, or I'm sure you could go pay your assessment, but I'm speaking of that specific process where you can get it put, you do a little thing and whatever legally, and then the property's assessed that. That's what I mean, like the mandatory, your property has that money. That you're required to pay that amount.
Commissioner Fender.
Yeah, your definition of mandatory hookup and my definition of mandatory hookup are two different things, right? Mandatory hookup to me is when he puts a sewer line in, we're all required to go and hook up to it. That's not the case. If you decide never to hook up to it, you can never hook up to it. You're not required to. If, for some reason, your property degrades to the point where you have to have sewer service, and you would just as soon pump it into your yard, at that point, you're right, you're not going to get a permit for that. You're going to have to hook up to a more efficient sewer system that exists for you. That's not mandatory assessment, nor is it mandatory hookup. That's that you have now technology that you can utilize. You going to the fact to say that, hey, I don't want to have to hook up to the town municipal sewer says that because of that, I never can. That's the issue. Right, so there is no mandatory hookup. You can not hook up forever as long as you have a way to process your sewage that doesn't violate the law. We're not going to bother you. No one's going to come and harass you.
Commissioner Titicus.
Well, first of all, I think, you're obfuscating the issue.
How so?
Obfuscating it from the fact that if your septic system fails, you will not get a permit to hook up to replace that septic system. You will be forced in order to hook up to a sewer system. And by putting in the sewer system, your argument that by not having a sewer system, I'm forcing you not to be able to hook up to a sewer system. The counter argument could be there at the same time. You know, by putting in the sewer system, you're forcing the town to move in that direction and to ultimately sewer service to be supplied to everybody. Because the septic system has a life of approximately 25 to 40 years. And so
It's a long time.
it doesn't matter how long it is, but ultimately, and Bob, I heard what you said, that this was never stated. However, that's not true. And I'll be more than happy to point out the number of meetings to where out of this commission, that comment was made. I stood up at that dais and I provided you all some written comments to the effect that I asked the question, is this going to be a mandatory hookup? And I was told no. Now, Frank, your definition of mandatory and my definition of mandatory are a hell of a lot different.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
That's the whole gist of it. This whole thing you're saying is that when people say mandatory hookup, I've been doing this sewer talk for 6 years, that is the discrepancy. That's why I wanted to call it eventual mandatory hookup. That's what you want to call it. But I don't want to see the disagreement like, oh, the town manager, you told me that. That's because him and the engineer, they say, no, it's not mandatory because you don't have to do it immediately. And so it's semantics, and I don't want to get caught up in semantics. We'll call it eventual mandatory hookup. But that's...
I don't know, call it that.
Well, at least you're being honest, Commissioner Mayfield. I appreciate it.
Vice Mayor,
What I'm talking about is assessment. I just want to make sure that people are not assessed for something they're not getting. I've always said that. I've said that for
Yeah.
10 years. This is going on the 10th year. I'm saying the same thing I did 10 years ago.
Have you been assessed?
They shouldn't pay for something they're not getting. That's what I'm concerned about, okay?
Well,
And that's what we're talking about. Once we put the lines in, I'm afraid that the county is going to start saying, hey, we're going to start assessing these people, okay? I don't want to do that. I don't want to see that happen.
Commissioner Mayfield,
I think that's from before. I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Fender.
And I was just going to add to that, I mean, we've had the lines on the north side for years now. I think you're a resident of the north side. Have you been assessed to date?
No, but I don't have gravity.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that phase yet. That's the thing that the grants are going out for. We haven't gotten there yet.
We're talking about part 3.
To get to gravity, you need 3 yes votes up here, so,
Yeah.
and
We're not even that.
we're not there.
That's hypothetical, right?
We got,
All right, and
I don't think they can hear you.
I didn't say anything,
Conversation.
didn't say anything yet. Go ahead, Joe, I'm so sorry.
Well, I was prepared to give you a status of the septic to sewer program that we have and talk about a few things that we should make some decisions on.
I like
Some
your
of items
presentation
that
so
you-
far.
What's that?
Said I've liked your presentation so far.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if you'd like, I will do that, but if you think you'd rather move on, I'll do that. I mean, but I think the fact of the matter is there are some decisions that need to be made. First of all, we have a large sum of money in a grant that we have to spend, according to the contract, by the end of 2026. And to get some of this stuff done, it does take time. It's not something that automatically we plan on something and then all of a sudden it's built and people can hook up to it. So, and quite frankly, the direction I was given when I started this septic to sewer program is that basically we would have sewer available and that we would not have a special assessment. And that's the program we've been working under, okay? You can tell me that we have to go in other directions, and quite frankly, if we follow what the county wants us to do, there could be a potential we would have to go to special assessments. Exactly the reason why we've been trying to go through this slowly and do the grinder system. That system pretty much would work where we already have enough money with the grant that we have. We could finish everything before the deadline of it, which actually turns out to be September, October of 2026. The money's there. Basically, the technology's there. However, the county has not agreed to let us to use grinders in the remaining 366 connections. And that's what's left to talk about. We can call it Phase 3, call it whatever you want, but that's what's out there. And so there's two options. Option A is to move forward with the gravity designs and get that done, but that will require probably about another $7 million in grant funding. And to get that, as Bob has explained, we have to show some kind of commitment to making people hook up. That may mean different things for different folks, just like you pointed out that if your system fails, you have to hook up. It may mean if you change, some communities have a requirement that if you have basically if you have change hands in real estate, the real estate deed changes, basically they have to hook up then. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you ways to potentially get around this issue. It's been very clear that nobody wants a special assessment. I don't know why we keep going back to that issue. It's been very clear, listening to the stakeholders, listening to everybody on this issue, and I think we all agree to that. So, two options, either we have to decide to move forward with gravity, or number two, we have to try to convince the county, and that's what it's going to take you politicians. Bob's been over there numerous times. We cannot seem to get past this about going to utilizing additional grinders. I'd like to say we have to make them an offer they can't refuse, because we need to get, if that's what you want, and you want to stick with the same program you have now, then essentially we need to convince them that we can stick with the grinders. If that's not the case, then we're going to have to find more money to service everybody, or use the $6.5 million we have and service those that want to be hooked up. So those are the couple items that need to be decided. The other item that I suggest that we probably do, because if you look at the map on gravity sewers, and I think we can pull up the map if you'd like, but basically you know the one that was up front is purple and whatever. Those are the systems that are currently built or being built, okay? The white areas are the areas where people want sewers, but we don't have them available. So I suggest that we consider a poll of some sort from those 366 residents and find out what is their interest. Are they willing to hook up? We've done this before, and in my packet that I put together, I actually did utilize what we gave them before as a poll and see, are you interested? When do you want to hook up? Because quite frankly, there's actually 4 different areas that we would have to put gravity sewers in the way it's laid out now. And quite frankly, I don't know which of the 4 you want to start with. And I don't think you know, because if you don't have an interest in sewers in one of the 4 areas, why build that with the $6.5 million? We might as well go to one of the other 3 areas. And so therefore, I think a poll would be beneficial. Again, I'm pointing out we have 2 issues here. We have to make a decision. Are we ready to move forward into the gravity system and utilize the grant funds? And number 2, do we have an interest with the residents? I wanted to tell you some statistics a little bit. Number 1, we have completed 169 connections. In that 169 connections, 21 people have currently requested tie-in, and they have not paid it yet, but they have requested. In addition, 28 people have asked for a connection, and the county is connecting them. That is a very good result. 49 people out of 169 within the first year. That's a very good result. The county was really impressed with that. I'm only telling you that because it seems like we have an interest in hooking up. That's on the 169 connections. So in the 171 connection area, we're about ready to start that. I would like to be able to give them the notice to proceed. That's Sunshine Land Design. And I'll remind you, we have 3 bids. Sunshine was the lowest. It was higher than we had hoped. But the fact of the matter is we have enough money in the grant. The county has enough money in the water mains they want repaired. And essentially, they're ready to start that project. I think the town has already looked at the contract, reviewed it. They've signed it, provided their bonds, and hopefully in the beginning of June to the end of June, we will start that work. And essentially that will sewer all the lots that are along the river, okay? All the way from from the Part 1 area south down to High Point and so forth. Anyways, when that is all done, we've been saying 6.5 million. This grant that we have pays for the design cost and the construction cost, okay, of the low-pressure force mains out there. We will have a remaining amount of money in the grant fund of $5.167 million. That's how much will be available after we've spent the items that we've already committed to, and that includes Sunshine Land Design's contract. So that's what's left out there. Unfortunately, that is not enough to build gravity mains for all 366 remaining connections. So we have to make a decision on that. And I have other information in the memo, but I think I've told you more than enough. So anyways, would you like me to show the map if you think that's easier to explain to people? I can pull that up if you think that's important.
Commissioner Fender.
Sure, the map would help me.
Bob, go ahead, you got Gina sent it to you?
No,
Well, I can live without it if you don't
I
have
can
it.
pull the one that we have.
No big deal.
No, here.
So I just, well, while they're pulling that up, I'll pretend I don't have it. I just want to make sure I understood what I think I heard you say, is that right now on the south end of the peninsula, you have 160, the infrastructure in place for 169 connections, of which not all of them have connected, but that's okay. I mean,
That's right. We have a,
that's done, right?
that's correct.
That work is finished. You're about to start, and I'm kind of getting to asking you, when you start and when the next piece will be on another 171 connections, which will, assuming that gets done, it will complete the low-lying area of the southern peninsula, right?
Yes, sir.
When will that start? The
That's
171?
going to start in June,
In June.
next month.
All right.
And it'll be done by, be more accurate to based on what the contract says, it'll be the middle of January 2026, it will be complete.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I appreciate this update, Joe. I would say definitely do a poll to see which area, that would be, I think that sounds smart, to see which areas are most interested, particularly since we've been speaking of no assessments. If the town didn't get any more money, it would only be a certain area that was getting the gravity system, correct? But the infrastructure costs, the main ones would be covered by.
Make sure everybody understands this gravity systems that we're talking about. We have certain dry sewer lines out there in the field that need to be rehabilitated.
Yeah.
All these numbers are in the numbers we've been talking about, basically. So there's rehabilitation of existing sewer lines. There are new sewer lines, gravity mains. What that means is those lines go in the middle of the road, which means we have to repair the roads and the curb and everything. That is why the gravity system is more expensive, because we have much more to do. There are also 4 lift stations, and on the map that's there, you can kind of see 4 different locations here. The purple is what will be built out when we get done with the 169 plus the 171. The white areas are the areas that still need sewers on the map that's up there right now. This is an old poll of what the interest was, okay? We did that a long time ago. We really need a new poll. That's why I'm suggesting we do the same thing with a new poll, because we have people that have hooked up. We've had people that have basically paid currently the fee is $7,000, and if you pay after the first year, it's $8,000. That's the cost that the residents are paying, which is a very good rate.
Yes, it
The
is.
average around the state is $12,000. Of course, most everybody has had the opportunity to be subsidized with some state money, and that's the case we have here, too.
Okay, so like I said, I think the poll's a great idea. Find the areas that want it the most and focus on those with the funds we have, and then still be trying to get the grants. In the meantime, I have tried also, and I have not given up total hope about convincing the county to change their policy to allow everyone to have grinders so that all the costs would be covered by the grant we currently have. So you said you wanted suggestions of where to go. There's my where to go.
Thank you.
Joe, I have a question. Everything, I've been doing a little more research. Everything I see on the gravity system, it works better with higher areas. It's not good to put in low-lying areas. It can come back into the home in some cases. Where, I understand we've been using the grinders. They say the grinders are actually better in the lower-lying areas.
Well, I don't want you to think that on a gravity system that basically they'll be set up where there's no backflow from the sewer system into the house. Don't get me wrong, that could happen on a rare occasion, but that's typically not the case. Actually, it is one of the issues with in our community, of course, as you put the gravity sewers in the water table, okay, and underwater, then obviously there is potential for infiltration of that water into the system. And so therefore, that's why they like a pressurized system. The county would prefer that we did a vacuum system, which is a very good system. However, that, in our case, would have required a special assessment. That's the reason we didn't go that route, okay? So the gravity, I'm not telling you that it doesn't work in the low-lying areas, but it's basically more susceptible to infiltration from groundwater, of course. So yes, it is better probably in the higher level areas. But we would end up having, as you know, it in the higher level areas, and it would flow towards the low-lying levels, and that's where the lift stations would be had, okay? And then we'd have 4 of them out here, at least 4.
Yeah, that's a lot of lift stations. But the other thing is there's like a flap in there. The flap sticks, what happens, everything will back into the home. And
I'm not sure I follow that, but like I said,
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you that I don't have.
I know nothing about this.
I have
so
neighbors
just
in other states that have had
gravity.
gravity back up into their home, but I don't think that's prevalent, and I've not really had it happen to me in South Florida. I'm not saying it couldn't, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, it says this is a problem with lower lying, specifically in lower lying areas when you do that. I guess it's more intended for like higher terrain, I guess, like if you live a little higher up on the other side, it goes down, but what happens if you have steady water, it can stick and allow the backage, and you can catch your neighbor's stuff too. That's a little bit higher, so if you're the low guy in the totem pole, I'm just saying, but if you look on the internet, you'll, that's really where it picks it up. Let me see, Commissioner Fender.
I also haven't given up on working with the county to extend the reach of the existing technology. I'd rather not have the 2 types of technology in our solution. I'd like to save the money. But I'm wondering about the algorithm that arrived us at the I'm going to just say 350 roundly, of where we'll be at the end of June. Obviously, not everyone will hook up to that. Is the algorithm have to be that the potential is that 100% of people will hook up? Because we're not going to get 100%. And is there any play in that number?
So well, I'm kind of losing you, because we make the sewers available. We make they make grant money available for you.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, I don't think we've ever expected, and nor have we ever seen results where everybody, 100% of the people are going to hook up.
That's my point. So I'm wondering
If I
why the
may,
350, yeah.
They go by connections. So whether somebody hooks up to that connection or not, they count that as a connection. So that's why they limit.
Even though 50% of them are not?
Correct.
Okay.
And, that's just, there's a possibility that over a period of time, they could. And, it's, I think we're about 50% roughly on North Sewell's Point area. And, I'm not sure where we're going to be on South Sewell's Point, but we're marked on the number of connections that we provide.
I'm just trying to figure out where the bottleneck is that limits us going 100%, right? I mean, how do we
Commissioner.
get from 350 to, I'm sorry.
I have something relevant to this point
Okay,
you're asking
please-
about, if that's, is
please
that okay,
provide it.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So I've been a big proponent of septic to sewer in South Sewell's Point, and the whole idea that everybody in South Sewell's Point could have the option to only have to connect when their septic tank fails is very alluring. So I think it's a win-win for the county and for us. So the bottleneck is, because I've talked to all the past commissioners and most of the current ones, when you get down to it, the majority say this is the recommendation of our staff, of the utilities department, and I follow what my staff says because they are most knowledgeable. But when you talk to the staff person and you get down to it, they're like, this is a policy from the board that was established in 2019 or whatever. So there's a circle.
Well, that's why I'm asking about the technology. That's really
Yes,
why
and
I'm
so
trying to figure out
other
what
sources
it will maintain.
Such as our engineer and people in other municipalities like Port St. Lucie and Stewart, that could work. All the grinders would work in South Sewell's Point. It might require more maintenance. And I think the town has said they would be open to helping to cover those costs or trying to make a deal. I think the town has tried to be very open to get this great deal for our residents. And somehow, between the commission and the utilities, there's a circle.
Well, that's why my
it
question
can be broken
about the bottleneck.
if
I'm
they would
looking for the
be
technical
joining the-
limitation that keeps us from connecting.
I don't think there is a technical limitation
that's
beyond
what
what they say are maintenance costs, so
All right,
that's
my hope, what you just said.
my hope.
Commissioner Titicus.
I have a couple questions. Joe, I didn't understand, you said there are 169 available today, 21 requested, and 28 have hooked up, or are they in the queue?
There's, by the statistics we received today from the county utility department, okay? They've had a request and they've connected or are going to connect, in other words, been paid for 28 people.
Okay, so 28 have paid.
They
And you
paid,
got-
and I'm not sure how many of them connected, but they basically feel that they're customers. They're going
Okay.
to be customers. Then there's an additional 21 that basically have shown interest, and they have, what the county does is they go out there and look at the site,
Right.
and they tell them how it's going to be hooked up. They try to save hedges, bushes, whatever they want, avoid impacts to their driveways and so forth. And so they've at least approached another 21 that show strong interest in connecting. So
Okay.
there's a total of 49 people so far, or connections, that have interest.
And then let me go back over the numbers. You said that there is 5.167 million will be left in the grant that either must be spent by October of 2026, September 30th of 2026, or returned to the state, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm not done yet. Then secondly, you also said that there is $7 million needed for the design of the gravity system.
Well, there would be an additional $7 million needed, not just for the design, but for the design and construction
So,
of the gravity. If we were to do all 300, if they insist that all 366 connections that are left, okay, let me start from the top. There's 704 connections in South Sewell's Point, okay? Of that, they are allowing us to take 340 of them.
got it.
They're allowing us to use grinders for. The rest of the 366, they're saying we have to use gravity for.
Okay, so, in other words, it's 7 million plus the 167, so it's $12 million, 167 in order to do the gravity system. Is that right?
That's correct, if we do gravity.
Okay. And then what I heard Mr. Daniel say earlier was that in order to go for a grant for the 7 million, the reason why we didn't get the grant the last time was because we didn't mandate a hookup. And the mandate isn't an eventual mandatory, it's a hard stop. Am I correct, Bob?
Yes, with that particular grant that we applied for, that's the feedback we got.
Well, okay, and so any other grant that you apply for is going to be a hard stop on a mandatory hookup.
They haven't said that.
Okay.
So let's make sure, because this is an important point. So we applied for, first of all, the grant that we applied for
Was the water quality grant.
water quality grant, okay? Now, the grant we're using now is a vulnerability grant, okay? Which basically is something we need to be prepared for sea level rise and so forth. I'm not saying that they won't encourage us to have some kind of condition where they hook up, but the vulnerability grant may not require that, which we have currently, okay?
Okay.
And I don't mean to confuse you, I'm just trying to tell
No,
you.
you're not
I don't know-
confusing me.
I don't know yet.
But
'cause we
both of
haven't
them
approached
come,
anybody.
both of them come through DEP, right, Joe?
That's correct.
Okay.
They're correct.
That's all right. So both of them come through DEP. I'm assuming that, I will assume, and maybe it's a bad assumption, that the requirements are going to be similar. And then the poll. I think it's a great idea. The last poll that was done was a flawed poll. So any poll that is done, I think, needs to come before this commission for review and approval before it gets sent out. Because in the last poll, we did not ask, do you want to hook up? On your map here, you have no reason to connect, and they're in red. The only reason that they show up is because people physically wrote it into the question. The question of the poll that was sent out is, do you intend to hook up in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years? There was no option to not hook up. So if we're going to do a poll, I want to do an honest poll and find out whether or not people really want it, because there are other options. They don't have to connect under current state law if there is no sewer line in front of their house.
Okay, so just so you know, if you want to pull it up, I only used the last one. I think, quite frankly, the last one we had, one of the concerns was there was not given a lot of time, there was not deadlines called. I think there was more to that, but I just want to let you know what's in what I put on here so far. I'll fix it any way you want it, Commissioner. The first one, it's just a poll, and it says, please check the box that best answers your preference on converting from septic to sewer and return the card in a self-addressed stamped envelope. Number 1, I am interested in connecting to the new sewer system. Option underneath that is within 1 year of sewer availability at a cost savings, and number 2, within 5 years of sewer availability. The next question is, I'm not interested in converting to sewer until my septic system fails. That was in the last one. I just wanted to let you know what was in there. We can add and change anything you like, and I do agree that this board's going to tell us what the poll and what this should say. I just want to let you know, this is just set up as a start, so you can manipulate any way you want. But I do agree with you. The last time we hurriedly put it out there because we had grants, submittals, deadlines, and a few other things, which, by the way, we were pretty successful in getting an $8.4 million grant. And I know, and I only tell you these things because we seem to have been lucky on a lot of grants. And fortunately, we have this money. I don't want you all to think that you're going to get grants that are over 50% of the cost of things. Because quite honestly, that is unusual. And usually, but phase 3, phase 1, we did a lot better than 50% in grants. I'm only telling you that because there seemed to be this position, we should be able to pay for all these things 100% by DEP, DEM, everything. It doesn't always happen that way. I'd rather you be prepared for the worst, and I get you the best, okay?
Let me ask you another question. If we had to prioritize road resiliency, phase 2, and gravity septic to sewer, what would you suggest as the town engineer?
Okay, that's been if you look at it.
I'm just looking for an answer, Joe. Give me the
answer is
answer,
really
then you
simple.
can explain it.
Okay, the answer is really simple. Why would you build a sewer system after you've rebuilt the road up and the drainage system? Basically, you start with your lower system, which is a sewer system. You build that, then you build your drainage, then you build your road. You certainly don't want to build all those and then have to dig down again and build up the.
I think that's how we got here.
And so, therefore, we are trying to constantly get the sewer system built before the drainage system goes in.
So your
That's-
priority is the sewer system? Is that a yes or a no?
Well, it is a yes, because it's only logical that you would do it in that order.
Okay.
But if you tell me we have to do it in another order, I'll do it, but that means I got to look at what the additional costs are. And so therefore, you would go to a grinder system, because I can put a sewer system adjacent to the road, okay? A grinder system, a low-pressure system. And in matter of fact, that's exactly what we did in North Sewell's Point. And that's exactly what we're doing in South Sewell's Point in the grinder system. We're putting the lines next to the roadway system in drainage system, so we can get around it that way. But for a gravity sewer system, it's going in the road.
Commissioner Burrell's been waiting very patiently.
Okay, so we're talking $12 million. Is that going to cover lift stations and the property we need for the lift stations? Is that going to cover all of that?
Yes, it's all included in there. Again, they are engineers' estimates, but the fact remains they are in there. And we intend to use lift station sites that we already had dedicated when people developed subdivisions, okay? So we are using those lift station easements in the plan.
Okay, so we have land for those 4 lift stations? We
Yeah,
have-
not every one of them, but majority of them we do, yeah. But the fact of it
What
is,
what
we
is the
would,
majority, 2, 3, 4?
actually, on the map,
One.
One there, there's one there. Are they the stars?
Yeah, there it is, stores.
all 4
You
locations.
got all 4?
All
Okay.
4 locations, yeah.
All right, so you got the locations, and then you also have to get the lift station and the generators, I'm sure?
Yes, we would, yeah, they do require a generator of lift stations, and we conveniently have generators associated with our stormwater system, too. So we will have generators, too. But, yes, to answer your question, we
Okay.
typically like the portable ones that we bring out there when they're needed.
Okay.
I have to let you know, the system, whatever one we do, we'll design it and permit it, get it built and everything, and then it becomes a county system, so they run it, okay? They end up
Yeah,
running the sewer system, like they do now.
Well, that's why I'm asking about the assessments, because they're going to own it,
Right.
you know, and I just don't want people to pay for something they're not getting.
Right.
That concerns me. I know I wouldn't.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, listening to all this just reminds me of how badly I want the county to change their policy. So I would really encourage my fellow commissioners, if, obviously you can do whatever you want, but be friendly, conversive, sell it. I mean, it just is, to me, it's a win for everybody. That's a win for the county. They're getting more customers, and a win for all the residents here. They have the option of sewer. They can wait out their septic tank, and so it just seems so great. I don't know if we would go as far as an official letter from the town, but I don't know if that would even make a difference. But I think that is just such an easy way to solve this problem. So that's my view.
Hey, let's move on to the update on Phase 3 resiliency. And one of the things, Joe, that a lot of people may not understand, I always like to explain this to everybody, because I'm up there every couple of days. I see our foreman, Wes, he's showing me what's new. The big question is why, most of the reason why it takes as long as it does, once it's what's underneath the road, you're going in blind. There are things they find, pipes, wires. If they go too fast, you're not going to have water, or you could lose your cable TV, or you could lose your internet, electricity. There's a lot of things underground. And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're approximately 40% done. What they've done there is pretty much the heart of the project, meaning that you have a retention area behind the house. There's a retention area they're going to dig in front of the house, then there's another retention area across the street. And what they're doing is they're putting the pipes in throughout. If you see all those pipes getting dug up, they're taking the water out so that they could put the pipes in. These pipes are actually going to be holding water. And I'll let you go from there, Joe.
Okay. So I have a memo on this too, but first of all, so everybody knows that we have a project that is being built by Cheatham, and it basically is oversawn by Culpeper Interpreting as the, basically the engineer in reviewing and inspecting the construction, okay? I go to the meetings regularly because I'm technically the engineer of record, okay? So the original contract is basically substantially 350 days, and we give them about 380 total days to tie everything up at the end, okay? So everybody knows they're actually about 33% complete at this point, okay? And that's typically by the amount of days they've spent. I think if you look we meet every 2 weeks in this, right here, and basically, I think if you look at, they may have been 3 days behind on their project, but they have put, Cheatham is the company that's the general contractor, and they do mainly the concrete work and the asphalt work, and they're the ones that are coordinating all the subs. They have a crew here. On top of that, we have Johnson Davis, which is their subcontractor that does the underground drainage, underground sleeving and so forth. They're the ones doing the majority work out there. They have put 3 crews on the project, which is unheard of, quite honestly. We don't normally see that many crews by a contractor. They're all pretty well busy and spread out. So I want you to know we seem to be getting very good participation from them to get the project done. Okay, the project began on 1/13/2025. It's expected to be completed by 1/27/26. Same time as the sewer, okay? They're all following the same thing, same timeline, okay? The contract amount is a little over $10 million, and to date, they've only really spent about 12% of that is what they've billed us for, okay? They'd probably spend more than that, but that's all they billed us for. Okay, bottom line, they are really, if you look at the map here, in yellow, I've highlighted the areas of pipe work that they've been working on. They've been working on outfalls, which are the 2 lines that go north-south, or to the bottom of the top and bottom of the drawing. Basically, as you know, we're putting in these outfalls with control structures, pumps, and so forth. They're putting in those outfall pipes, those outfalls. 2 of them are built. Of course, the pumps aren't in place yet, but they're putting those lines in. And yesterday was a really good test on one of them, to be honest with you, the heavy rains that come out, because that's where the water comes out before it goes into the river, and we have pipes that control how fast it comes out, and so we also have erosion control, riprap, things like that keep the bank and tank intact. Anyways, so those are they put the outfalls in, of 2 of them. There's 1 more outfall to the north that still has to be installed. They've been working on, in the road closed area, and getting the storm lines in place. As you know, there are 2 systems, one for the road, and there's one for the yards adjacent to the road of storm pipe. Those pipes are 18-inch, 24-inch size, 15-inch size pipes, okay? They're all in those yellow areas that you see there. Essentially, they're moving along pretty good. We've been trying to take advantage of the dry weather, right? Because we know we're going to get into the afternoon rainstorms, and they will be slowed down. The other thing, they're typically working in the middle area. They'll work and finish the middle area, and they'll work to the north, and then they'll come back and do the south area. A couple of things you should note: we have a historical site out there that we have a archaeological lady that has to monitor whenever they put the shovel in the ground in that area. That is an area we're trying to get done as quick as possible, because when it rains, it is harder for her to see the issues there. So that's another thing that we have been kind of watching. You know, the area they're working in now is where we have a lot of canopy, and we tore up a lot, as you know, and we will be doing replacements, as you know, of trees and adding trees to those areas. But that's been happening. One of the things that has slowed us down a little bit, if we find opportunity to keep the existing landscaping on people's properties, even though it's in our right-of-way, we've been able to save a lot of the existing trees and vegetation. That has taken some time to do that, but they have been working with us on that item. all in all, the project is moving along. Again, I've told you the amount of crews. I know the $10 million question is, we are closing the road, and at this point, we would like to keep the road closed in the limits that we show through the month of June, at least at this point. Obviously, they want to get all the storm pipes in there. It's safer for them. It's quicker for them to get the work done. And if we can, we would like the board to consider leaving the road closed for a little longer period of time. So anyways, and I can't tell you that we won't close other areas, but that's the one area we'd like to keep closed right now.
Commissioner Mayfield.
When you just said the commission consider leaving it closed for a longer period of time, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like beyond how it was originally earliest June or midway through June, or what did you mean by that exactly?
Well, I think the current plan was that we would be done right like the first week in June, I'd like at least to the end of June.
Okay. I'd rather you be conservative here and tell me longer and it's earlier than give me shorter and then it's later, because that makes people mad.
It makes sense, but I don't want to, I know people are finding it inconvenient, but the fact of the matter is, it'll be a matter of the weather.
Okay,
How's
that's fair.
that sound?
Okay, so when people ask end of June, unless there's a lot of bad weather.
Right.
Okay.
That's for
The detour.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for that update.
Thank you, Jeff.
I have a question.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
In terms of the detour, it's going to be moving. Am I right or wrong? I mean, right now, the center section is closed. When that finishes, you said we're going to do the north section, so the detour will end up moving down the street. Am I right, and then ultimately it'll move to the south section? So we're going to have a detour for a year. It's just not a matter of where it is.
Well, I don't want to say it's going to be a year.
Okay.
Let me.
All right.
I know
Are
you
we
wanna-
going to have a detour? Let's start there.
Okay. The point is, right now, the detour covers the middle to the north end. If you notice, pretty much, I think it's Ridgeland that comes up, okay?
Yes.
So that's there could be that intersection that we have to close. But the fact of the matter is, it's already closed to there. Okay?
Got it, okay.
And it's already closed to Raya Vista Lane, right? So that area is the closure. When we get to the areas south of Raya Vista, yes, we would have another closure.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, I understood from the beginning that it was going to move,
Right.
But
I think you're right.
the impression that I think you left Commissioner Mayfield is that there isn't going to be any detour after the end of June, and that's not true.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Is there going to be some time with no detour?
Yeah, when it's done.
Well, like maybe a month?
A little bit of
I just want to
pain
be active,
for a
not
big
people ask-
gain.
I know this, I said it ends in January, December, November. I'm hoping those months we will be out of the detour for any areas. We will be raising the road with asphalt. That's why we used asphalt to raise the road. People can drive on the asphalt as soon as we put it down, and then you don't need to close the road, okay? So the last few months of the project will be raising the road and putting in landscaping and striping and yard drains and making sure everybody's driveways are put in place. Those we don't need to close the road. The time we need the closing of the road is to put the drainage pipe in, which is what they're doing now, and that's what they will do foreseeably through, it could get past June, it could get to August.
Okay. Those are, basically, I wanted to his point, and it's okay, you could say it can be open for a few weeks, and then at least you have a little respite, and then you go back to the detour. Is it going to be continuous through August? Or, I mean, is there going to be a break?
I would suspect we were going to keep it closed for that period of time till the end of June.
Till the end of June?
And then, if everything's finished, and much as we can, then we will move it to the south, because that's the next area that needs.
Like immediately?
Well, I don't know if it'd be immediately. It's a matter
Within a
of,
week.
Okay.
yeah, we can, again, I'm playing with the weather here.
No,
folks.
no, no,
You know,
I just, like I said, I'd rather be conservative and just say it's gonna be, like, I'll do that. I wanna give,
Well, one of the problems we had is people think, and they might have heard it from the contractors, that the road's going to be closed all the time, and that's not the case. There's going to be periods of time of closure, but we're not intending to do it all the time.
Commissioner Titicus.
When is the note due for the property on South Souls Point Road?
I believe it's 2027, am I correct, Mariah?
2027?
Yes.
Or was it 2025?
2027.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
The only thing I was going to bring up over here is about driveway requirements. There's been a few driveways, people are redoing them, and they're bringing them back in with another set of asphalt or concrete. And there are also some places where the driveways were actually dirt or grass. And what they're doing, when they put the concrete in, guess what happens to all that area where that was normally grass or whatever it was that was pervious? You're putting concrete there and there's no place for the water to go. And what's happening, it does create some flooding. I was going to see if we could talk about it at one of our future meetings, possibly doing something as alternate to concrete or asphalt if people are going to replace their driveways. So we could get something that definitely would take more water, be a little more environmentally friendly. As I mentioned, every meeting practically, our biggest issue is flooding in this town. We're putting millions of dollars to keep it from happening, and this would help things along. And also, going down, you're keeping dirty water from landing in the river that's coming up the roads. So this is something that I think is very dear to me, but Commissioner Mayfield, please.
yes, I'm open to that. I'd need to become more learned on the issue. I don't really know about drainage of certain materials, but, I mean, yes, that's our main struggle all the time, is water and drainage and flooding, so I'm open to that.
I would like to be open to suggestions from both our building inspector as well as our town engineer on what we can do to prevent going forward with doing more asphalt and more concrete in the future, especially in the lower, especially going up the hill, because right now, I'm sure all the commissioners received the same video I did. It's like just watching the water go for a free ride going down a hill, and the victim really is the person that's across the street, because they're grabbing all that water now. But it used to be just grass or something, so it's kind of scary when you see it coming. You don't know if he's actually had to replace his porch because the water slammed into it in the past, and it gets very expensive for people that live peacefully for years in one way, and all of a sudden that new home comes, and all of a sudden everything changes. And sometimes it could also change when you change your driveway. So this is something, I'd like to find something to be amicable amongst the commission. Vice Mayor.
Maybe start with new home construction.
I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with that.
That would be one way to do it. Might not be the end all, but it'll be a start.
You have my support on that. But this is something I would like to put on the agenda for commission discussion. And also, there's a gentleman I apologize to, I guess, Craig Peste? I'm sorry, I got this actually after everything, but I'll let everybody else make their comments.
I'd like to,
Come on up to the mic, please.
I can stand here on the, I'll call the ADA, American with Disabilities Act.
Okay. Go right ahead. Yeah, you're okay, go ahead.
Anyway, I'd like to talk about the speeding on South River Road.
I've seen it, and I'll go like this, then sometimes I get the finger from them. But I do know what you're talking about, so.
And Chief Tina's done a lot, work with it, you know, and I'm afraid, nobody wants speed bumps, but I'm afraid temporarily, until the construction's done, we might have to do that.
It is a lot of the construction vehicles, I agree with you. And
Something's gotta happen pretty soon.
I see that, I see the Amazon guy. I've seen quite a few of these guys, because I also jog on the road, and I see them flying up sometimes.
And at night, I'm telling you, it's like a hydrant. And it's just, we gotta handle it now before something really bad happens. Cars have bad accidents, we're trying to walk across the street. I mean, some of the elderly people on South River, they don't want to go out of the house and cross the street. Because you don't know what's coming around the corner, pickup truck doing 50.
I will say the police have issued quite a few tickets, and I've been watching them, and these people are just very inconsiderate, because I see people walking their children, their dogs, and it's a very narrow road to begin with, so I agree with you. And I know the police have been working hard on this, and we only have 2 officers any given shift, so you have 2 cars, and sometimes you only have 1 officer. And, you know, so it makes it kind of difficult.
Tina's done yeoman's job of keeping it under control.
Yes.
But it's just, I'm telling you, we gotta do some children. Her staff will also agree with me. I've spoken to all of them. And they're like, yeah, it's crazy. And they're doing the best they can, what they have, but what about speed bumps, temporarily, something? Because we're talking about it, but I'll go home tonight, and somebody will fly down the thing at 5, 6 o'clock at night doing 60. And I'm not talking about once in a while, I'm talking about all night long. Pickup trucks doing 50, 60 miles an hour down South River Road. People can't even get to their house. I mean, the speed bump you put was in a Ridgeland.
Correct. And Rio Vista.
Yeah. I mean, I think that needs to happen maybe more. Nobody wants it. I hate speed bumps. Something's gotta happen. And it's temporary. Just do it temporarily. Until the construction on the road is done. And we can take it out.
Thank you so much, Craig. I appreciate the input.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just for the edification for the commission too, we did do the survey, the mail out, and the results are being tabulated, and we'll have that at the next meeting to, discuss.
Okay. Commissioner?
Yeah, there was a stop sign added on South River Road too. So, I mean, and I forget the exact street, I think.
Lantana.
Lantana, yeah.
Thank you.
And again?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, staff comments.
I don't have any. I just appreciate the support. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to commissioner comments. Commissioner Fender.
All right, I just made a few notes to myself throughout the course of the evening tonight, but I did want to readdress the Morgan Circle issue that the Hooker family spoke on at the beginning of the meeting. I assume, since I went out there and visited, that some of you also went and toured the facility, saw the space. I kind of agree with Jackie Thurlow that we probably should have some kind of stance on this. I mean, I don't really know what the final product's going to be. I haven't reviewed the plans, but I assume the property has gotten to the place that it's at now because of input from Jack and Bob, so I'm hoping that we can recover that. I've got the pictures that they gave me. I've got the pictures that I took while I was there. I saw the removed, I saw what it was before TEP removed one of the walls, which was pretty horrific. And I'm questioning now, especially based on what former Mayor Weiner said about the ordinance in place on obstruction of views from way back when. So I don't know, I'd like to readdress it. I don't know, maybe it needs to be an official agenda item. I'm not sure how to proceed, but I'm just bringing it up that we should address it. And I'm actually concerned mainly about the destruction of the of the beach that is contiguous all the way along except for that, in that property, that doesn't match the rest of the properties along that beachway. In addition to, I don't have visibility on the trees like I do on my road with 10 Oakwood, but I'll believe what Jackie mentioned about tree removal, because I didn't see any trees left on that lot, which seems to be a problem. So I just think it needs to be addressed, and I'm not sure how to address it.
And he stole a lot of my thunder. I was going to say that pretty much it's very similar.
Well, I'm
But
just, on that topic, I will add that to the agenda, but there is a pending case right now with the Code Enforcement Board,
Okay.
so that I believe
Bring
it's
us up
coming
to
up in
speed
June,
at the proper time.
so,
Yeah, okay.
in reference to the trees.
I've got a few more.
Go ahead, Frank.
Last meeting, you amended my motion asking for clarification on the $500,000, I recall. And I'm just reminding myself that what's the next step on that? Are we supposed to receive something, or?
We got it.
Yeah.
You already got it.
Okay, all right.
You need to open your email.
Okay, I'll do that. You're comfortable with the response?
It was a response. It wasn't normally what I would consider to be a variance analysis. I mean, I'm used to something that lays out line item by line item, and then it totals up to close to the number.
Okay, all right.
But, it was a response. We received it
All right,
within
right,
a
I haven't
7-day
seen it
period
yet.
of time.
I'll go and see how I missed that, thank you. Just want to reiterate that I'm in full favor of the evaluation process. It has to get done prior to whatever decision has to get made by August 8th, so, I'm not sure how to move that forward without a clerk, but maybe you can help us do that.
They'll be done.
Okay, you're going to help?
Actually, Mariah handled it the last time. last
All right,
year.
perfect. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you for reminding me of that.
I'll be sending that out.
Thank you, ma'am. And just a last point on the whole discussion we had early on, and the timeline. Guys, I'm not an attorney. It's a noble profession, but I'm not an attorney for a reason. I'm kind of a handshake person and a big picture person. So, when I hire somebody to do a job, I assume they're doing the job unless I hear otherwise. I haven't heard otherwise, and I just don't like to get mired in too much administrivia on things related to minutes and things related to contract negotiations, and on things, that I think we hire a town manager to handle separately. So I appreciate the help. I'm disappointed in, nobody's perfect, but I hate that this can't be a little bit more harmonious, as I sort of mentioned last time. So I hope we'll get back to harmoniousness soon enough and productivity. All right, so enough said on that.
And Town Manager, do you have something you had to say?
No, I just wanted to add
Okay.
what I just had to say.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I bet you guys already got your email, but next Wednesday, the 21st, at Stewart Boathouse is the Treasure Coast Regional League of Cities lunch meeting. Everyone's invited. I think it's at 11.
And I think we need a response by the 17th.
They're fun, and you get lunch.
Commissioner Titicus.
A couple of things. I wanted to thank Joe for the reconciliation, even though it wasn't quite what I was looking for. There was an explanation in terms of the differential and the pricing and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm also thinking that since what Mr. Capper was talking about in terms of the $12.167 million estimate for a gravity system, we probably should add 20% to that anyway, since we were 20% off on the last estimate. Sorry, Joe, couldn't resist. The other thing is, and I asked Elizabeth when we came in, we have several ordinances that are hanging out there that were talked about. I think, the difference between fill, not fill, which was the old ordinance for, I think, 404 and 440. There's another one that goes back even further that from January that I had punted to the town manager, and also Mr. Pry at 8 Morgan Circle had brought in and had suggested an ordinance about moving a 25-foot setback. That needs to be checked also, and that was told that that would be brought back. So the sooner we could bring these ordinances back and bring this matter to closure would be greatly appreciated. And then I would also like to know, I get a timing for who, number one, and number two, when the grants will be prepared, and we can review them particularly for the road resiliency grant, phase 2, that's hanging out there. You can take your time on the sewer grant, but thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners? Do we have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.